Thank you, Louise, for the introduction. Now I start. Welcome, everybody. I hope you feel welcomed. If I say welcome, and good afternoon. Yes, I'm very happy that I have the honor to present our work here today, together with my two colleagues, international colleagues from the Dutch colleague and a Swiss colleague. These are the two co-authors who did this work with me. What will I present? Just briefly, I will share an educational design of a very special seminar with you. The seminar is an international blended project seminar on the Sustainable Development Goals. It's called Social Europe Days 2024. Obviously, we and the SDGs. SDGs is short for Sustainable Development Goals. Over the lunch break, I realized not everybody is familiar with these Sustainable Development Goals. I had hoped so, but in case somebody doesn't know the Sustainable Development Goals, just very briefly, this is not the topic of my talk, but just briefly, 17 goals the United Nations have agreed upon to reach by 2030 to make this world sort of short a better place, a sustainable place. And it includes things like fight climate change, end poverty, peace and strong institutions, and many other goals, just very briefly. Okay, I will present the educational design. I will present and share with you our theoretical framework. We use two different sets, education for sustainable development and future skills. Then I will go on to describe the educational design with more details, discuss our findings, our insights by the reflection we did jointly, and actually finish with some conclusions. And I made some photos because I thought Friday afternoon we might all need a little bit of a light approach here. And you see here, this is me and my co-writer colleague Merit from Switzerland. And the thing I'm talking about had a very hands-on approach. And one day they made us, the Green Office of the hosting university made us pick up plastic trash. So the academics got to actually do something. Just as a side remark. Okay, this one goes. Okay. What did we actually do? I said already it's an international blended project seminar. Blended learning means we combined online and offline working phases with the students. We were about 70 students from 10 European universities. The whole setup was a blended intensive program. Some of you in the European context might know Erasmus Plus funding for short-term mobility, and we run this whole program as a blended intensive program in short BIP, and got this Erasmus Plus funding for it. And PXL is one partner in Belgium, in Hasselt, that hosted our 5 days short-term mobility. Third topic, obviously, are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, short SDGs, as I said before. And the core element of our design are international multidisciplinary teams. So students worked online and offline in groups of 5 to 7 students who came from very different backgrounds: social work, human resource management, gender studies, public administration, and also some technical disciplines in those international multidisciplinary teams. And I'll give you more details about this later. And the whole setup of context is a collaboration of 10 European universities. You see the logos here. We range from Malaga, Spain in the south, to Tallinn, Estonia in the north, and 10 European universities. Okay, what is the framework, the theoretical framework we used? We used 2 different frameworks which are interconnected in my opinion. First, education for sustainable development, a term that has been coined by the UNESCO in 2 cornerstone presentations, 2014 and 2020. And the important thing about education for sustainable development is to understand that it goes far beyond environmental issues. You might think sustainability is about climate change or environmental issues, but it goes far beyond them. And UNESCO understands education for sustainable development as a way to completely transform our educational systems so that all our students, I mean, both in all parts of the education system, are actually capable of doing a contribution to reaching the 17 all-comprehensive sustainable development goals. So in addition to environmental issues, it's a strong focus on economic, social, and political aspects as well. Okay. And it's deeply linked to one of the SDGs, which I suppose several of you are also familiar with it, the SDG 4, Quality Education for All, in the 7th sub-goal. It says, and I'm now quoting the UNESCO 2020 publication, by 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote a sustainable development, including, amongst others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, appreciation of cultural diversity, and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. And I think this quote summarizes very well the broad scope of this agenda. Now, the big question is, how do we do this? It's nice to put it on a slide as magic big words, but how do you actually develop educational designs that have a chance of contributing to such an ambitious goal? And one researcher has said you need basically 4 different cross-cutting indicators. You have to have collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity in your teaching, in your educational designs. And that's what we took as one starting point for our work. The second framework is that of future skills. There's been lots of work on this future skills concept. There are different models. It's basically a bundle of skills where people think these are the skills that our students, now I'm talking about higher education, but you could also apply it to secondary school education, skills that you need to navigate our world, which gets increasingly complex. And it's a very ongoing field. One researcher said it's a term with a short history, but an enormous career, but also a very heterogeneous field and a very evolving. So you find very different models, and there's also a little bit of arbitrariness, I would say, and even the research says, that is a weak point. It's still difficult to get a measurable model of these future skills. So this is one of the models that by the guy Ulf Ehlers, a German colleague. We use for our work another one of a set of future skills created by the UNESCO IESOL, the International Institute for Higher Education in Latin America and the Caribbean, in 2023. It has these 4 pillars that I think are quite obvious: personal skills as a person, social transition skills to foster social change, then skills you need for digital transformation, and obviously also skills for ecological transformation. And you see, altogether, this whole discourse on future skills does not imply that the domain that students study in their study programs is less important. But what this discourse on future skills says is only domain knowledge doesn't help. You have to go beyond this, and you have to develop these broader skills to navigate a complex world. Okay, now, bit more to the ground. What did we do? I said already 10 universities, 70 students who selected this international program. It started with an online kickoff day, a full day via Zoom. Then there were approximately 4 weeks of collaborative work in project teams, also online and obligatory. We had a guest lecture day to give additional input, that was also online, but optional. And then we came, then the continuation of those 4 weeks of collaborative work in the teams and the short IMTs, international multidisciplinary teams, took place. And finally, we met for 5 full days at Hochschule, at our Belgian partners, university site, and did several things there to refine and deepen the knowledge, and especially to share and present the results of the international multidisciplinary teams. Okay, this is the core element. We have done lots and lots of things, obviously, as you do in 5 days with an on-site full-day seminar, but I will only give you a little bit more on this core element, the international multidisciplinary teams. We gave students quite openly defined tasks. The student group of 5 to 7 international interdisciplinary students, or students from different backgrounds. And we said, please create a project idea and a project outline that would possibly contribute to one or more of these 17 sustainable development goals, and that could be implemented either at your own home university or in your local community. And for this project idea and the outline, please develop a self-running presentation, like a kiosk presentation, plus a poster, because you will share it in a big group of about 100 people in a marketplace format. So you have to create attention for your project. So this way it was deliberately underdefined, like there weren't more details, and students at the beginning said, oh, but that's exactly, if you remember my slide here, one of the future skills is sort of to be able to deal with ambiguity and open situations, because many of our challenging problems are ill-defined or underdefined. Okay. Yeah, that's basically what we did. And now I have to say, I'm not reporting from a research project, it's a practice report, because we didn't have any research money or capacities. But what we did with the lecturers, we did a debriefing session, we shared our observation notes, we had a small survey among students, and basically I'm now reporting and discussing our design from our insights, but it's like more a reflective practitioner rather than a real researcher in this case. Yeah, if you remember, first in the Education for Sustainable Development, there was the author Patricia, I don't know, it's he or she, I don't know, it's my attention, I think it's a she, said you need educational designs that foster communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So we, with one lens, we looked at our design and thought, well, in which way does our design contribute to the communication? Well, online and offline communication, I think is quite evident in this whole setup, with an underdefined task. So there's a lot of debate and discussion going on to actually say, what are we going to do, and how do we select a goal, and so on. Then also hands-on, students had to create this marketplace stand and attraction. So that's the collaboration. There needed to be some real feasible result, plus obviously creativity. And we also, from our observations and a little bit from the survey, think that we also fostered critical thinking, because the different perspectives. Students from human resource management think very differently from students from social work. And in that way, assumptions needed to be questioned. And in that way, we think critical thinking was fostered as well with this design. Obviously, nothing comes only with strengths. We also discovered some weaknesses because initial reactions of our students, we clearly saw that some students felt this whole thing was daunting. English is a second language for nearly all of the participating students. We have Maltese students, but they also have two different languages. To do that online, it's not the easiest thing to do, obviously. So also, despite our general assessment was that many students put a lot of effort in it and really dedicated their work to the to this project idea. But of course, you also have student groups where that were slightly lost and where the quickest approach, as we called it, won. So that can't be helped. And that was also weakness we saw. And we allocated each team a tutor. Now, the role of the tutor is also a bit of a tricky one. We didn't want the tutor to take the lead because that would be completely against our logic of the design. On the other hand, yeah, that was difficult, and especially with the groups who, in our view, didn't really buy onto this project idea. The role of the tutor was also difficult because they had hoped the tutor would give them the first most important decision, which he or she didn't. And then there was disillusionment, and yeah, so that is definitely some weakness which could be improved. Finally, we also looked at, we used a second lens for our practical reflection. We used the future skills model of UNESCO ESOL, and we clearly saw in our design the two left groups of future skills, the personal skills, open-mindedness, coping with uncertainty, and sometimes doing something completely different, which also some project teams did, like this breaking orthodoxy is what they say here. And that we were quite strong on these points, also in the social transition, because it was fostering inclusiveness, very many different people, different sides, different opinions. We were less strong on the right-hand side of this diagram. So the digital transition, I mean, that wasn't our aim as well. There wasn't much on these red pointed things like programming literacy, nothing like that got into our design. A little bit of digital literacy, of course, because students had to research studies and present a presentation and print a poster. And the ecological transition, yes, a little bit by our guest talks, and when they went into specific sustainable development goals and they chose something environmental, they also gained some skills here, but again, it was not our strongest point, and it wasn't also not in the corridor of our aims. Okay. Coming to a conclusion, basically, we felt that this endeavor, international, blended, online and offline, multidisciplinary, and such an open defined task or assignment works well in this direction of getting future skills built up. But we surely also recognize we would need further research to actually quantify these skills and competencies gained, because right now it's just a reflection. We would be interested in how could we really support students in this learning process while still empowering them, or trusting in them that they can do such a project. And then also to turn it around, what does it mean for us as international lecturers? Because with 10 different countries involved, it also sometimes was a challenge. Did we build our future skills? I mean, I hope so, but okay. Basically, that's the literature we use. You will find the article in the proceedings, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for an interesting talk on such a massive topic. Can we